Now, let's go into Canada, and there's nothing Canada loves more than supporting terrorism. Oh, God, why can't we do anything in this country that doesn't make me want to rip my own head off and throw it at the Prime Minister? It's a bad idea. So let's bring up the video, and this is at a pro-Soleimani. So remember, I said Soleimani is the head of the Quds Force. The Quds Force is a listed terrorist organization in America and Canada, which means this is a terrorist. So David Menzies, a rebel reporter, is at this thing for the people supporting the terrorist, and here he is being told by a police officer that he cannot call a terrorist a terrorist.
Okay. So I can't call a terrorist a terrorist?
You're not in this sort of environment. No, you can't. Okay, because that's going to incite a breach of the peace.
So,
and that is Canadian law. Am I clear?
If I was to call Osama bin Laden a terrorist, that would be against.
Question, please. Am I clear?
I know you're not clear, sir. I can't call Osama bin Laden.
And it incites a breach of the peace. You will be placed under arrest. Do you understand?
Amazing. Okay. So again, Qassem Soleimani, under Canadian law, was a terrorist. And here's a police officer saying, if you call a terrorist, we will cite you for a breach of the peace. Behind him are dozens, maybe hundreds of people actively supporting terrorism. Isn't that a breach of the peace? Now, the police got on the rebel reporter for calling a terrorist. But what did they ignore? Show what they ignored. Here's an active assault from a terrorist supporter being ignored.
Yo, guy, you're a terrorist. You're a terrorist. You're also a terrorist. Fuck you. You're a terrorist. Fuck you. You just assaulted me on camera. You're gonna get arrested. You just assaulted me on camera. What? Let's go to the other side.
So there we have a terrorist supporter assaulting someone on camera in front of a police officer, and nothing was done about it. Now, we do have footage. It's on the New Telegraph, which I'm now working with everyone. Like and subscribe to that. This too. But on the New Telegraph, we do have footage of this guy, the same guy committing assault. He committed assault. There's an article earlier in that day against a bunch of Iranians. But we actually have footage of this guy saying he is a Hezbollah supporter. So this guy who's supporting the terrorist Soleimani, Quds Force, is also a supporter of another listed terrorist group, Hezbollah. Hezbollah! Now, here we have the police doing nothing, and here we have the elites in the left enabling this. And this brings me to my favorite quote of all time from Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. When Hassan Nasrallah was asked by reporters, why does Hezbollah, which is an Islamist organization, get so much support from liberals in the West? Even though you guys share no values. I mean, you want Sharia law and they oppose everything you think. Why do you think they support you? Hassan Nasrallah responded, I don't know, but when the time comes, they'll get the bullet too. And that's what I like to say to that cop. And all those idiots there who, I mean, there's legitimate Islamists who are like, no, under the Hezbollah regime, like, we're going to, Sharia law the place. But there's a bunch of dumb white people there too. And I just want to let you know that the organization you're supporting says, thanks to your support, I have no idea why you like us, but when the time comes and we get in power thanks to you, you'll get the bullet too. Now, it would be nice if we had a police force, paging Mark Saunders and John Tory, Doug Ford. It would be nice if we had someone in this country with a backbone. One. Allah, inshallah, we get a one politician with the balls to say, hey, this assault that happened on camera. Hey, why are all these people supporting terrorism? Hey, Mark Saunders, why aren't you doing anything about this? Because we literally have terrorist supporters running rampant on the streets of Toronto. Just running around supporting terrorism. Woo! And like, would it be nice if everyone said, I think supporting terrorism is bad. It's really not good. People shouldn't be supporting terrorism. Like, that would be a good thing. Can you imagine if we lived in a country that didn't support terrorism openly? Or if people supported terrorism openly, everyone's like, hey, that's bad. You're a bunch of terrorists. But no, the actual police, the only thing they stepped in and tried to stop was the fact that someone called a terrorist. That got the police angry, right? When a terrorist supporter punched a Canadian, they did nothing. What the hell's going on in this country? What the hell? And who the hell's in charge of this? Majid Jowhari, who we're going to get to very soon. But nope, support for terrorism, wave Hezbollah flags, all the stuff we love. Now, okay. The big story in Canada, though, what we're all focusing on is the plane going down right now. Because 63 Canadians died in Iran this morning. So we have some footage of the plane going down here. You know, show it there. Yeah. So here we have like the plane in the sky. It looks like it's on fire, and then you'll see a big flash, and then it will crash. Okay. There are three possibilities of what has happened right now. Possibility number one, the Iranians took it down in a mistake. They were on high alert, and I'm putting all these possibilities in orders of most likelihood. They were on high alert after the missile attack. They had their anti-aircraft system set to the max. They screwed up because a plane flew over Tehran. They thought it was a military plane. Someone just fired, and they screwed up. They took it down. Okay, it's probably most likely. Number two, they knocked it down because they wanted the people on it dead. There was someone on the plane they didn't want to be alive, and they took him down. Number three is they're telling the truth and it was mechanical failure. Now, the biggest counter to number three is the fact that they have the black box, which gives all the flight data, and they will not give it to anyone. They will not give it to Boeing. If there really was a mechanical failure, you would just give the black box to Boeing, and then the world would say, oh, we've looked at the data, it was a mechanical failure. So the fact that they do not want to exonerate themselves and prove their own claim means very, very unlikely that this was just a mechanical failure. Now, what makes it number two, what makes it most likely number one is Iran is not a high-functioning country right now. But more importantly, you trust this government to get to the bottom of this? I mean, they killed 63 Canadians, and it's highly likely that the Iranians were involved in it. And I wrote this article. Do you trust Majid Jowhari? This guy? Majid Jowhari, Liberal MP or Iranian asset. I suggest you read this article. The guy who wrote it is me. But seriously, I compiled all the evidence. It's so clear. There's video, photo evidence that Majid Jowhari, Liberal MP, is an asset of the IRGC, as he was alleged to be by an Iranian intelligence officer who defected. Said, yeah, I heard a lot of stuff about Jowhari. He's a plant. Now, Jowhari was just a Canadian guy. He was not that wealthy. He had no money. Then he went back to Iran. He worked at the Iranian National Bank, made a fortune, came back to Canada, and started running for office. So that's how he got his money, just from the Iranian bank. We don't know, and it's not like Iran has an anti-Canadian sentiment. Oh, what's that? Iran has an anti-Canadian sentiment? Who would have thought with all the death to the West they were chanting? Who would have thought? To be fair, maybe under Justin Trudeau, Canada no longer counts as a Western country. That might be the mental gymnastics we are using. But in all likelihood, this is where we're at right now. So, do you trust the government that employs Majid Jowhari to get to the bottom of this? Do you trust them to have Canada's best interest in mind? Let's also point out our current Prime Minister, diversity make blackface. Our current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, his brother Sacha, or Alexander Trudeau, used to be on the payroll for the Iranian government when he worked for Press TV. He made propaganda documentaries for them, saying how the Quds Force is great, promoting terrorism. Right? He used to be on the payroll of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and he's currently an advisor to Justin Trudeau. Do you trust these people to get to the bottom of what happened to 63 Canadians? And it's not like Iran has anything to fear from Canada. They've murdered Canadians before. Zahra Kazemi. Now, that was in 2003, and Stephen Harper did use her murder, to close the embassy in Iran. Now, her story is fascinating. She went to Iran in 2003. She took a picture of a protest. The IRGC arrested her. They sent her to Evin prison and murdered her. Their actual story. Now, I'll give both sides of this story so you can make up, what happened. Is Daniel telling the truth or the Ayatollahs telling the truth? The alternative story is they were in there for Evin prison to just go over a procedure. They had her in the cell. She then tripped, fell, raped and tortured herself, then hit her head on the floor and died. Legitimately, that's actually their claim of what happened to her, because she was raped and tortured. She tripped and fell, and it all happened she tripped, and then, that's their extra story. So, maybe I'm telling the truth, maybe the Ayatollah is telling the truth, who knows, I leave it up to you to decide. But under Justin Trudeau, they killed Syed Qassem, who was a sociology professor just visiting Iran. Because the reason they killed him is Canada was talking about opening up relations with Iran, and Iran saw that as a sign of weakness. So what do? They murdered a Canadian and took his wife hostage. Because they figured weak countries you can push around. This is how the Middle Eastern mindset works. Right? There's no negotiating Obama nonsense with these idiots. Oh, God, Obama. A good thing to note, though, is the Iran deal is over. And before we move on to our Idiot of the Week, the Iran deal, I'm just going to point out, anyone who talks about the Iran deal as being a sign of peace, they are an idiot, or they are lying to you, or they've just never read the Iran deal. Okay? So part of the Iran deal is it gives the international community a chance to monitor Iran's weapons. Okay, in standard weapons monitoring, when the international community monitors weapons, they send an inspector to random sites on random times to look over the sites. However, under the Iran deal, Iran gets to choose when the inspector comes, and they also get to choose where he gets to look. So the Iranians could put a place off limits. There could be like a place called nuclear bomb making factory, and they could say, yeah, you're allowed to look in this guy's swimming pool, but you can't look in the bomb making factory. And then you're like, okay. And surprise, surprise, we haven't found anything yet. Oh! My analogy in the recent article was like, let's say you and I are playing a game of hide and seek to the death. You know, winner gets $150 billion, loser dies, okay? Here are the rules. I hide, you seek. If you can find me with 1 hour, you win the money. However, bonus rule, I get to choose where you get to look. Okay? How does that sound? If your answer is, yeah, let's do it, congratulations, you're Barack Obama.